The Love Your Podcast is a combination of humor, science, and real-world experience to help you break the battles with food, exercise, mindset, and your body. From head to toe, inside and out, this podcast has you covered. I'm your host and founder of the Fit Mom Revolution, Julie Stubblefield. Welcome. Hello and welcome back to Love Your Podcast. This week, we're jumping into the expectation gap. So expectations are, believe it or not, a form of control because it's acting as if we can create a certain result or output or outcome, however you want to phrase it. And before you listen to this episode, I want you to make sure that you've already heard episode 69, which is the one before this. And that's where we're talking about what we can and can't control. That we can control our input, we cannot control the output. And when things don't match up, there's an expectation gap. So it's really important that you go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. If you've already listened to it, even if it was last week, that's fine. Everything will be refreshed and you'll know what I'm talking about when I go through the little bit of information that I'm sharing with you today. So the expectation gap happens all the time, and we feel like we spend a lot of time, going through input and looking for output, but really where we spend the most time is the expectation gap. And the gap is when what we expect and reality of what actually happens for an outcome or an output or a result don't match up. And let's be honest, that's most of the time, right? Whether it's how we think our hair is going to look in the morning to how traffic is going to be on the way somewhere, to if our kids can actually get their shoes on time to leave the house, right? We have a lot of expectations, but have no control over what can actually happen, or not all control, over what can actually happen for that result or output or outcome. And it's kind of comical if you think about it, because we put so much faith in these expectations being met, and then we have to mentally kind of resolve it in order to move on. So we spend a lot of time spinning our wheels. And it brings me back to this whole concept of expectation is a form of control. We're basing it off the assumption that we can actually control what's going to happen. And we can't. Just like we talked about in episode 69, we cannot control that. No matter how much we can control the input, that output is not totally within our control. So what happens is it generates confusion and frustration. What did I do wrong? What did I miss? Did I skip a step? Did I not plan it well? Did I, whatever. But the bottom line is there's so many factors in creating that output that you can't control, that you can't always have a say or a hand in that. And that's where we spend so much time. And I'll be honest with you, I could spend hours, maybe even days, possibly even weeks, dissecting all of the reactions that you could have as a result of being stuck in an expectation gap, meaning feeling frustrated with the reality not meeting your expectation, that it actually wouldn't benefit you. I could spend hours talking about, why are these reactions there? Why do you feel this way? What happened? What could you do differently next time? How could you interpret the information differently next time? And honestly, it wouldn't be helpful to you to share it in this format because it's actually very personal. And, the way that you were raised, the way that you live your life now, the interactions that you have in your life, all shape what happens in that expectation gap. So for me to put a big Band-Aid over this is what happens and why is actually doing a disservice to you. And this is actually what I work with a lot of my private clients on, is helping them manage their expectation gap. So I know you're probably frustrated with me. Julie, you pointed out to me there's an expectation gap. Now I understand what it is, but you can't tell me how to fix it. You can't tell me what's going on. I can't tell you how to fix everything, and I can't tell you the root of all of it for the reasons I already said, but I can give you a universal option for all of you to try. It's kind of like a shortcut, because there's not always value in understanding why something happened. There's not always a significance to how things pan out. Sometimes, sure, but not always. So sometimes we get lost in the minutia and forget that we can just move on. So I'm going to give you a tip on how you can move on and make that expectation gap not be as wide and won't be as hard to kind of climb out of and move forward with. So I want you to try this on for size, and I dare you to email me, julie@fitmomrevolution.com, and tell me how it goes, because I really want to know. I work with clients like this all the time, and I know it works really well for them, but I'm curious if you're actually going to take this and apply it and how it works for you. And by the way, I do this for myself all the time as well, and I do this with my kids, with my spouse. I'd love to do it with my cat, but it just doesn't work. He doesn't speak my language. Okay, how can you manage the expectation gap? Instead of expecting a result, be open to what could happen. I'm going to say that again. Instead of expecting a result or an output or an outcome. Now remember, in episode 69, we talked about what kind of things fall into this category, like results with our body, when a cake comes out of the oven, when we give someone a gift. Instead of having that expectation of what result you'll see or have or feel or touch or smell, be open to it. The difference between the two is one gives you a firm vision in your mind of what something should be. The other one gives you curiosity. And one of them is much easier to move through. And that is being open to a result or an output or outcome. So why the heck does this work? Well, it takes the pressure off. From the littlest things like, okay, I planned out my route. This is where we're going to go. It's going to take us X number of minutes to get there, and everything's going to be great. Well, sometimes traffic doesn't follow our expectations, and it takes the pressure off and say, okay, I planned this the best that I could. Let's just let's see how it is when we get there. Or you could say, I bought all of these ingredients. Here I am back on the cake reference. I bought all of the ingredients and I made a cake, and let's just hope it turns out okay. And you know what? If it comes out and it's great, awesome. If it's a little lopsided on one side, you deal with it. If you are trying a new exercise regimen, say, you know what? I'm going to do my best with this exercise program for 4 weeks and see how I feel and see what my body tells me. And if after that amount of time you're seeing results, you're feeling stronger, you're feeling great, awesome. If after that amount of time, it's not quite what you expected, you're having a hard time sticking to it, your body doesn't feel great at the end, you're being open to the result that maybe that wasn't a good choice for you. Instead of expecting an outcome, be open to it. This also allows you to find little gems in the process. When we're so rigidly fixed on how something should end up being, we kind of miss little nuances along the way. Like if you're so focused on getting somewhere on time, you don't see the cute little dog that's being walked on the sidewalk that might make you smile because you happen to see it because it's got a cute little pink bow by its ear. Or you might miss the sweet little picture that your kid brought to you right when you guys should be walking out the door, but your child was so excited to draw a beautiful picture for you, it got lost in the shuffle. So when we're so fixated on that end point, We miss the little gems along the way. So this will allow you to see these little sparkles. And finally, it gives you the chance to explore results or output that maybe you hadn't considered before. I know I don't like to be told this, so I know you're not going to like to hear this, but you actually don't know everything. And I say that with a chuckle because when we hear it, we go, yeah, I know I don't know everything, but I like to think I do, at least in certain areas of our lives, right? I mean, we're the expert on ourselves, or at least we feel like we should be. But believe it or not, there are things you don't know about yourself. You don't know how you're going to show up in a certain situation and so forth. This allows you to experience pleasantly some outcomes that maybe you weren't expecting. And sometimes that's actually better than what you had planned out. So there you have it, folks. It's the expectation gap and a little shortcut to get through it. Instead of expecting a certain outcome or result or output, be open to it. I'd love for you to give this a try. Send me an email, julie@fitmomrevolution.com, and let me know how it goes. I'll talk to you next week.